Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Now, as y'all guys see in the title, it says, it's the end of an era. And I want to talk about that in this podcast. Look, I started doing podcasts about 2.5 years. I started a dedicated YouTube channel just for podcasts. And as I was doing a podcast at that separate channel, I was bringing on guests and I was doing solo podcasts and stuff like that. So about a year ago, I made a decision. I wanted to combine my podcast, my YouTube videos, everything into one channel. It's easy for me to manage it. And oh, by the way, I'm under the weather, kind of a little with the sniffles. So you might see me, wipe the nose a little bit. And so over the course of a year, since I started doing podcasts on this YouTube channel, I noticed an imbalance. I noticed things, the good and the bad, and even the ugly. Because what I wanted to do is, my podcast, I wanted to be different. I don't want to talk about tech on my podcast. Look, I don't mind talking about tech, but I don't want my podcast to be dedicated to tech. But the YouTube gods doesn't play that well. Listen, this is a tech channel. And pretty much everything that I do on this YouTube channel is related to tech. Whether that's going to be microphones, smartphones, monitors and stuff like that. But I wanted my podcast to be a little different, right? I wanted my podcast to be just a little different. So what I did was I partnered up with my daughter and we started doing podcasts. I had guests on and stuff like that. But what I did with my daughter was something different, something that I really liked and something that I wanted to do. I do not want my podcast to be dedicated to tech. I mean, come on. The whole YouTube channel is tech. Everything tech. Wired Winds is tech. My YouTube videos is tech. I wanted to dedicate a podcast to non-tech. Well, the YouTube gods doesn't work that way. This is a tech channel. So if I have a podcast talking about lifestyles, nobody watch it. But what happened was, when I started talking about other things on my podcast, I started growing a different kind of audience. I was growing that audience that want to hear lifestyles. They want to hear, relationship issues. They want to hear the Gen Z versus the older generation, however that goes. They wanted to hear me and my daughter talk about all kinds of different things that's not tech related. But that audience will not stay for tech videos. Look, one of the biggest issues, and I talked to, some family and friends that's non-techies, is that we appreciate, they love what I do, but they just can't follow what I do. I mean, think about this, right? People that's non-techies, they don't want to watch tech videos. They don't mind the podcast, but they don't want to hear tech videos. Like, you think about this. We talk about, smartphones and we talk about specs and microphones and stuff like that. Well, they don't understand that stuff. But when I was doing the joint collaboration with me and my daughter, they absolutely love it. But those people come in and they watch that video, but they ain't watching nothing else. So for the past year, I found myself in a huge dilemma that I was trying to combine a YouTube tech channel and do podcasts about lifestyles that's not pertaining to tech. And what did I found? I found that my tech audience wasn't watching none of those podcasts. I mean, the few diehard people, they watch the video. But a true techies, they don't really want to hear anything about lifestyles and what's going on with rappers and all that stuff, the Gen Z versus, relationship issues and all that stuff like that. And, father-daughter talk. They don't want to hear that. And it showed, because the audience that watches those podcasts is different from, my tech audience. So I ran into an issue, man. And I say, as much as I don't want to do it, look like I have to do it. So this is going to be the last podcast on this YouTube channel. I'm going to take all my podcasts and I'm going to put it back on my older channel. But what I also did was I had to change the name. Because again, I fell into this dilemma. Now I had the podcast channel, which was a tech named channel because it was called the Tech Preacher Podcast, versus the tech channel. So I'm creating a mess for me and creating a mess for YouTube. So at this point, I have 2 tech channels. I don't want 2 tech channels. I want 1 tech channel. What I decided to do was I am going to end all my podcasts here on this YouTube channel. And all my podcasts is going to be on the new channel. Well, not new, but my older channel that's been sitting on YouTube. And I also changed the name to Eazy's Podcast and More. And the reason why is because I want to get the name Tech out of that name. I don't want to be the tech preacher on that podcast channel. Because my thought process about that podcast channel, my second channel, is if you come over there, it will probably be 20% tech, because I might talk about tech, but it's going to be 80% something else. And that, to me, I need that. Because listen, I am a tech geek at heart. I love technology. I study tech 24 hours a day. But I need an out. Sometimes I need to breathe. Sometimes I need to get out of the tech sphere. I'm too geekish. And when I was doing the podcast with my daughter, that woke me up because I really want to know what's going on in the world. I mean, I really need to get out and touch some grass. But the problem for me is I'm in the studio 24 hours a day, working, just everything tech. So my mind is just going 1,000 miles per second thinking about technology. But I have so much other things in my soul that I want to talk about. And when I talk about it on this channel, it nobody don't want to hear it. And I listen, I understand, man. Look, I do understand that I got my members. I do understand I got my diehard people. But at the end of the day, y'all come to this channel for tech. And I'm trying to force a totally different subject down my audience throat. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to make y'all guys say, oh God, his podcast is not about tech. I don't want to watch nothing but tech. So I come to his channel. I just want to see tech. Whether or not he's doing microphones, whether or not he's doing anything related to tech, that's what people want to see on this channel. Now, since 2015 into 2024, going into 2025, I have built this channel into a all tech channel. But what I wanted to have options. People that love tech, you can watch tech, but if you want to get a different side of me, you had an opportunity to hear the other side of me. But unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. The YouTube gods doesn't work that way when it comes down to flipping the script on whether or not this is going to be a tech channel or this is going to be a lifestyle channel. And I don't know. I mean, listen, I understand that that diehard tech people come to this YouTube channel. Diehard tech people come to my podcast, like even on Spotify, even on Apple Podcasts and all that stuff like that. I call it the Tech Preacher Podcast, which I will change the name. And I built up an audience in that genre. And I feel that if I'm going to change it up, I have to change it up all the way around. This has to be an end of an era here on this YouTube channel. Listen, man, I'm still learning. And I realize that, man. I realize that people want to watch what the YouTube channel is based about. And 99% of this YouTube channel is based about tech. And for me, I love tech. I'm a tech geek. But sometimes I just want to think out of the box. I want to get out of the tech sphere. I want to talk about other things. But I cannot do that here on this YouTube channel. So I have to end this podcast on this channel to let you guys know that if you really want to follow me, follow different things, follow different concepts, follow guests that I will have in the future, Easy Podcast and More, I will leave that channel link down in the description below. I'm about 500 subscribers on that channel. It's not even monetized. But I will be energizing that channel. So what's the future here, man? Like, I think about this, man. Like, I know I want to bring this YouTube tech channel to the next level. And I know I want to have my podcast. And I want to have all these different things. Listen, this YouTube channel is going to stay what it is. It's about tech. We're going to have fun. We're going to do the wild ways. We going to talk tech. Instead of Fridays, me having a podcast on this channel, I will have it on the Easy's Podcast and More channel. Now that channel is going to give you a lot of, I'm going to try to throw some behind the scenes on there. It's going to be unedited stuff. It's going to be podcasts. It's going to be guests. It's going to be all kinds of things. It's going to be fun. But we won't talk about tech. Now listen, I might have some tech people on there. Like I have a lot of my people that I know that's in my circle. It's all tech enthusiasts. So yes, we will talk about tech on that channel, but I will have other people come on and we're going to talk about different things. And that to me is I'm excited for. I cannot do that here on this YouTube channel. My thought process was this. This was my biggest channel. This is my biggest channel. So why not just try to combine everything into one channel? But it doesn't work that way. And I've noticed that, and I've been posting podcasts on this YouTube channel and on Spotify and all that stuff for a year. And I've had a year, week after week after week posting to come up with these thoughts, saying that this is not going to work. This won't work on this channel. And I go back and I look at my daughter videos and stuff like that. And we had this enjoy ourselves, and I consulted with my daughter. We go bring it back and we go do some lifestyle. And my daughter mentioned it to me once or twice. She said, you know what? You're posting everything on the tech channel, and we talking about relationships, nothing pertaining to tech. And I thought about this, man. It makes sense. And we talked and I had this conversation with my daughter. I had this conversation with the Oracle, which the Oracle has agreed to come on, my podcast channel and we go chop it up, have some fun, but we won't talk about tech. And she felt the same way. Like she said that why set it up so big to have a podcast on the tech channel when we not go talk about tech? And it just makes sense, man. It's like it makes sense. Listen, I'm still learning. And I wish that I knew it all. Listen, you have no idea how many people give me suggestions, how many people tell me this, how the things I'm doing good, the things I'm doing bad. Listen, I have to make decisions on my YouTube channel. I have to make decisions on my business. I have to make decisions on a lot of things. And when you have people coming at you left and right, telling you what you should do, what things you need to do, things you need to stop doing, things you gonna bring your channel to the next level, things gonna give you 1 million subscribers if you do this and all that stuff. When you hear this stuff constantly, every day from people, it's hard to just decipher. And so I look at this YouTube channel as a very special channel to me. I have a surrounding cast of folks that we are family. We enjoy what we do here. This is not a funeral, all right? This is a new beginning to something special. And so if you want to hear other things other than tech, please join me at the Easy Podcast and More. I'm going to get on out of here. Thank y'all guys very much. I got to go treat myself. I am very much under the weather. And so thank y'all guys very much for your support. Thank you very much for everything that you do. All y'all guys that leave comments and all y'all guys that do y'all best to help me through some of my issues that I have here and there. I appreciate that. And so this is the last podcast on this channel, and we're going to see y'all on another channel. I really appreciate it, man. It's this a Tech Preacher. Last Tech Preacher podcast, man. Wow. We're going to see y'all later.